Good afternoon. This is the Public Eye on the Bridge 99 FM, that unique experiment in radio that reaches out to Jamaicans and Jamaican lovers everywhere they are in the world. We create a bridge for you to link with your homeland, for you to link with the place where you find peace, where you find beauty, friendship, and comity. That's what we want to think of ourselves as Jamaicans, wherever we are. If we can find it in our land, that's where it starts and that's where it continues. But we find it in our hearts too, and in our spirits, wherever fortune and fame and life take us. So thanks for joining us. The Public Eye on the Bridge 99 FM. The WhatsApp number is 876-551-5782. And the studio line is 876-676-4996. And you can download the mobile app from the Android Play Store and the Apple Store. It's the Bridge 99 FM. The Honorable Pernell Charles is a co-host. He more than I, are retired public servants. We've been in the politics of this land and other areas of life for a long time. This program is deeply involved with politics, but it's beyond the partisan politics, you know. We're looking for consensus. We're looking for the ways in which, through our political structures and culture, we can find new ways to get together as a people, to do the things that will bring about fulfillment, not just for some, but for all of the Jamaican people, indeed, wherever you are. So join us on the Public Eye. Later on in the program, economist and financial analyst Ralston Hyman, we bring as a guest roughly monthly or so to give us a perspective on the state of the economy. The budget, the Jamaican budget for the year 2024 to 2025 is about to be laid. What's likely to be there? What's the status of our finances, of our expenditures, as well as our income? Ralston Hyman in about 15 or 20 minutes from now. After him, the redoubtable Dr. Lascelles Graham. We call him Muggy. He's well known. Footballer, sportsman, man of conscience. Do you know that some of our high schools are collectively bringing in dozens of runners and footballers from all over the world so that each of them can win? I'm against that. So is Muggy Graham. Pernell has some nuanced views. Let's talk it out again. This is extreme this time. Is it what we should be doing? Is it sending the right signal, defending the right principle? And then after 1 o'clock this afternoon, Professor Trevor Monroe, the founding director of National Integrity Action, the local division of Transparency International, they published one of Don Anderson's surveys yesterday on instances and perceptions about corruption in Jamaica. 92% of those polled said that they think politicians are corrupt. 90% said the police are corrupt. Can that be true? And if so, what do we do about it? What are the attitudes and values of other people? And how do we do the correction? Interesting issues, vital issues. We don't skin up and deal with the superficial in this program. We go straight to the heart of the matter. Mr. Charles, welcome, sir.
Thank you. How are you? Well, I didn't need to ask. I should be reporting how well you're standing up against all the problems.
Flattery will get you everywhere. Listen, sir, I have a heavy heart. It starts with international issues and then sequences into local affairs. I am concerned that we are watching genocide on television with this situation in Gaza and the unresolved situation in Sudan and in Ukraine. I'm worried about civilization. I'm worried about the future of humanity when, despite everything else, we can go to the moon, we can genetically modify everything, we can benefit from artificial intelligence, we can crack the sound barrier, and we continue to kill ourselves mercilessly, relentlessly.
Well, there's one that you haven't touched, that my heart is skipping a beat every time I think about it. What is the decision of the American president concerning 3 Americans who were killed. Incidentally,
Getting to you.
there are 3 black Americans.
I didn't realize that, yes?
I didn't know I saw it on television.
Okay.
Be that as it may,
Yeah.
they're treating it as 3 Americans,
Sure.
3 of their military men.
Yeah. Murder most foul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying they should never have been killed. Their lives are sacred.
Yeah, yes.
But compare it with.
But what bothers me
Yeah.
is as if you have the last card in your hand.
Yeah.
And if that card is played, you're dead.
Yeah.
Now, as I might have put it rough, but with Ukraine,
Yeah.
Israel,
Yeah.
Gaza,
Uh-huh.
all that's going on,
Yeah.
and what America plans to do
Mm-hmm.
is where the thread is like to break.
Break.
And your fear,
Uh-huh.
as to the rest of us,
Yeah.
we should be gathering barrels for our eye water.
Well, maybe so, but I take your point fully. And what equivalence of life about life is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Here you have 3 lives,
Yes.
should never have been lost.
Yes.
Yes. As you had 1,000 lives in Israel on October the 7th.
Yes.
But
And thousands and thousands and thousands.
more than
in Gaza.
25,000, 12,000 children without parents,
Yes.
6,000 children dead, massive carnage.
And
Over
each of
what?
them is a life.
Yes. Everyone is alive.
Regardless whether they're Israeli, Gaza, whatever.
But then you see, this goes to the heart of the thing. How do we, as individual human beings, in a social order like a nation, how do we value other people's human life?
Because we are restrained with nationalism. So if we're an American, it doesn't really matter what happened in Gaza.
Really?
What happened in
Really?
that. You understand? And
But that was the slave master's attitude, wasn't it?
Well, what whose?
That was the slave master's attitude.
Yeah, but he was looking at different thing. He was looking money.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't considered, to us, to him, life wasn't important.
No, it was commodity. Black people were a commodity.
They were, that's exactly, they were a commodity.
Yeah. So, but if you really strip it down, it's the same thing, It is materialistic, emotional desires that are causing us to be careless, and indeed not only careless, but to be actually predators of other people's lives. And my concern is we both easily agree on the international situation. You refine my opening, thank you. But what we have to watch that tendency in our land, where we create a they, and that their life is less important than our life.
No. It's not as less important.
Really?
That we have a tendency to look at others and not look back at ourselves.
Indeed, sir.
So we look at Haiti,
Yes.
and I've been saying we are on the same lane.
And when
it is coming to us.
And when we put laws in Parliament that in fact in recrimination, in pretense of justified punishment, we demean human life. Then I see the same spiritual detriment, the same evil which is abroad. Not in the same measure, but too much for us.
No. Take back that.
No.
Not in the same measure. If 10,000 are killed in Gaza and 1 in Jamaica, it's life.
Okay, got you. I'm corrected.
And the attitude that create the killing of this life
sure.
might even be worse.
So one of the things we're doing on this program today, which is of epic importance, is we are saying that we value human life wherever and whenever it is
exactly
found.
And whatever quantity it may be,
and
whether they be children or large persons.
And when we come out of a history where the majority of our people's lives were not considered to be human lives, and certainly not treated as human lives, the fact that we Jamaicans say this, and say it insistently, despite whatever hurt we have, despite whatever outrage other people do, or some of us even do ourselves, because we have a serious crime problem, we must never give up that principle. Otherwise, we are in fact putting the very noose we want to put around somebody else's neck. We are putting it around our own future.
But how do you justify killing thousands of children? Babies, some unborn, some just being born, and some have
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we do it regularly.
How do you justify killing them to prevent them in the future, who you don't know, to be opposed to your people, who you don't know?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
well, there you are. This is it,
I don't know how we can justify that.
No, we can't. But what we're doing is normalizing it. And a great moral nation like the United States is leading, despite itself, despite its principles, it is dealing with people in that coarse fashion. And we look here, it's important, Pernell, that we recognize that we are in danger too. We had a sad situation that you're familiar with a couple of weeks ago, where an American tourist, she happened to be a dentist, came to Jamaica, apparently had a psychotic attack in the Donald Sangster airport. Embarrassedly, mostly to her, stripped herself, went on in a terrible fashion, had to be restrained, eventually was put in the hospital for medical attention, okay? And then now, what we do when she recovers, thank God, is we take her before the court for disorderly conduct and indecent exposure and fine her money?
Well, I know that my daughter, who is in Maryland, is listening to you right now on this matter.
But I am outraged because this tells me about our consideration of human life and also human frailty. Because a mental condition is a human frailty.
She's a doctor.
Yeah.
Tears flow from her eyes when she called me and said, did the judge hear that this woman is a professional who must have had a medical problem, that she stripped herself, battered and bruised at everybody, and then...
Is that a criminal act? How can that be a criminal act if your head is not right? Diminish. I mean, just from a standpoint of a little legal knowledge that I have had over the last 50 years, there is no crime. There could never be a crime there. There could never be a guilty verdict.
Well, let me say this
because the guilty mind is not there.
Let me say this to you. I have been exposed to this sort of thing by listening to my children. 4 or 5 of them are doctors.
Indeed.
No. When you said to me, you go before a judge, and the lady after 2 days was well-dressed, well-presented,
obviously properly on medication.
Yes, she is, because she was taken to the hospital. And you don't tell the judge what happened. You just tell the judge that, she can plea, and she plead, and the judge charge her.
No. You see, but why? You
know what you charge her for? Obstruction.
Yeah.
Resisting arrest.
Indecent exposure.
That woman don't even know that she was there.
No, help me now. But what does that say? It says to us a warning sign to those who, as far as we're giving the facts as we know them, okay?
Yeah.
And as we analyze those facts, it tells me that we are less caring than we should be about another human life.
Well, let me say something that flashed across me. We on this program are privileged to apologize to a number of people who are hurt, who was not here, who may not even want to come again because of what happened. Yeah. We have to apologize because that doesn't represent the Jamaica.
No.
It doesn't represent me. It doesn't represent you. And I am sure it doesn't represent if a case was presented.
If people understand it fully, it could have never go so.
Couldn't. But say it again.
It could have never go so. But what we need to do, given our history, given the crucible of suffering, of less care, of discrimination, of racism, of classism, yes, you are when you go through that, you are supposed to be better than those who have not suffered that, and you're supposed to be more and more sensitive of difficulties like mental disorder.
Well, hold this now. My wife, who is also in the medical field, said that should never have happened at an airport, and a medical person is not there. That she's been roughed up by strangers and police. That
could calm the situation.
Somebody should have been there who know how to hold a person like that. Yeah. How to bring that person under control, right? The police are grabbing one hand, next hand popping one hand.
No.
Because
And then now we're going to discuss it later with Dr. Graham. We just saw a video I showed you of Jamaican girl children, prepubescent girl children. They look like they were 12, 13, 14, fighting and kicking one down on the ground, stamping on her, as if this is not the first time we've seen it, but this is in a schoolyard. Apparently no intervention by a teacher or by the boys until well into it. But the violation of the human body, and some people standing up there, and their main task is to take the video and to shout out BUMBO.
Well, let me say this to you.
What the hell is this? Jamaicans, come now.
Let me say this to you. I go back to Teacher Williams. My headmaster, who addresses all of us before we separate to class.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have made a presentation to us individually, although collectively we were to him. That if that happened, you have a problem. Now, you want to tell me what I saw those girls doing to other girls? Where were the boys still? The girl was almost killed. Two guys come to take her out. I mean, that could never happen in my school. No. My teacher would have said, all of you are...
So why is it happening now if it couldn't happen then? And what are we going to do about it is a critical question.
And we are saying we are that much more advanced now than then?
Well, this is it. Yeah. And therefore, I want a leadership that is so inspire in its integrity, in its gentleness, in its firmness, in its strength, that we set standards. Yes, that make it very, very, very apparent that that's not the way we want to go.
I want to close by just saying to leaders in the education department, one minister cannot control thousands of schools, but each school have at least a leader and sub-leader and teachers.
Sure.
What do you say to your children in class of their relationship to others? What subject is that? What sociology is? What subject is that? What health subject is that?
Well, you're
what
correct.
What manners is that to one another?
And before we close again, I want to take the opportunity. I know you'll join me. As far as that lady who had this mental episode, and we've been talking about, insofar as we know the facts, because we weren't there, we only have the reports and the videos. But insofar as we know the facts, I would like to extend an apology to her and to say to people who are prone to mental illness, and many of us are. Yes, look here, we could have done better. We are sorry that this happened to her, and we're sorry that the sequel went as it is. And this is not to, please, Americans, Canadians, British people, Europeans, whoever want to come here, please do not consider that this is how we normally behave, and please do not turn away from your interest and love of Jamaica.
Well, you say it for me,
I know
and I just want to add to say, we again apologize for what has happened. We are sorry that has happened, and we hope that that lady could come back to Jamaica. Well, I know she will, but I wish she'd come back to Jamaica to show us some of the Jamaican love and respect.
Indeed. Ralston Hyman, greetings.
Good afternoon. How are you doing? Sir P.
Well, thank you.
How are you doing, Master Ralston?
We're good, man. We're good.
Ralston Hyman, economist, financial commentator, presenter, producer, originator of Real Business on Power 106. And we try and make a monthly appointment with Ralston just to give us a barometer reading on the Jamaican economy and related matters. Ralston Hyman, the 2024-2025 budget is no doubt in full finished preparation, now about to be laid. The finance minister tells us that we have a large primary surplus that we have never had before, and this is election time, so maybe we are to expect a budget with unusual largesse. For our listeners abroad, we have to remember too that our Standard & Poor and the IMF are all saying Jamaica is doing extremely well. Why aren't the people feeling it in the same measure, Ralston Hyman?
Well, it depends on what they mean when they say that the Jamaica is doing well. For Standard and Poor's and the IMF, doing well for them means that you're running large primary surpluses and low fiscal deficits. They are not talking about the investments in infrastructure, investments in transportation, and all of those things that benefit the people. So doing well for them means being fiscally stingy.
Okay, well, but then isn't that good? Doesn't that make us get loans when we need them at low interest rates? Doesn't it mean that our investment grade goes up, and who benefits from that?
No, but investors are also looking at it. Hence the report issued by Tony Blinken and his team at the U.S. State Department recently. Investors are also looking at your capacity to provide proper health care, to provide proper security, to provide an education and trained population. They're also looking at your productivity levels. They are not just looking at debt to GDP ratio. It's a broader measure than that.
So you mean we may be asking the wrong questions and celebrating Pyrrhic victories?
Well, clearly. That is why places like Barbados are doing better than Jamaica, despite the fact that their debt to GDP ratio is multiples higher than Jamaica.
Let me just say, though, Ralston, the thing that is bothering me is, for example, if I try to get a man to work now, he's not available because he's doing a little thing. Now, as a trade unionist, a lot of people are working, and they're even getting a higher rate, but what they're getting is still lower than they're able to purchase from those who are selling the goods and service, because they too have increased their price. So I said to Ronnie the other day, would it have been better if you had stayed where you were and then keep prices? He said, well, that's not possible.
That's not an option.
That's right. But people are getting more jobs, but the money they're getting is not able to match the cost that goods have gone up. Alston, tell us how we're going to deal with that.
Well, that's correct. So what we need to do is to increase our productivity levels. We cannot approach that by just simply trying to contain inflation using monetary policies that is raising the interest rate, because that slows down economic activity and puts people out of work. So what we need to be doing is doing precisely what I was telling you about a while ago. Minister Clark needs to reduce the primary surplus and to invest more in the country's healthcare sector, to invest more in the country's transportation sector, to increase investments in the country's rural road network so that agriculture can be more productive, to ensure that agriculture gets the kind of financing that it needs, to bring more technology agriculture, bring up greenhouses, processing and all of those things, and to generally increase the level of education and training in the country so that the people can become more productive.
But in order to do those things, you have to have the primary surplus in the first place.
Precisely. The primary surplus is there. So but he's not spending on those things.
So the question is, what do we use it for? Now,
yeah, go ahead.
This is an election year. Jamaica is expecting local government elections before too long, and then it won't be many months before a general election is due. Is the strategy to save up save up a primary what constitutes a primary surplus, and then splash it when these electoral events are scheduled?
Well, if you notice,
tell us what is primary product. Primary surplus.
Primary surplus.
The primary surplus is the amount of money that is set aside in order to service the debt. What we have been doing is setting aside more than is necessary at this particular point in time. If you notice, the Prime Minister on his road shows, he has been announcing projects after projects after projects projects after projects after projects. So that is a signal as to where they intend to go.
So he's going to use the primary surplus that we have saved to do these projects. But you're saying that what time should these projects come on stream?
Sorry?
Should these projects
come on stream at election time?
Well, they're going to start them just before the election.
But and so it's set, Ralston.
Yeah, man. That's how the politics plays.
Okay, but I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing if roads fix and markets get spruced up and
people get one, two houses
and more. One and two.
Well, it's a good short-term measure, but it's not a good long-term measure. Oftentimes, because of the short-termness of these things, they're not done properly and money is wasted.
Well,
no, but Ralston, hold on. We can't let you throw that one answer out. if these things are necessary, if these things are going to be helping us, we must can get them done the proper way.
Yeah, but we don't.
When you do them in that kind of hurry to meet an election, you don't get them done the proper way.
Or when you speed it up, you go too fast.
Yes. It's just a run of money. A man eat of food.
Right, what's the alternative?
Well, the alternative is to do them on a timely basis to benefit the economy, not just to benefit an election cycle.
Ralston
If you're
Hyman,
looking at sustained growth, yes.
tell us, project what you think the budget is likely to include, also tell us, or let's discuss what we think it should include. Let me start off. It is clear that the areas of health and education require much more attention.
That's correct.
Money alone won't do it, but I'm startled, and I mean, government may try to smooth it over, but we're all startled at that U.S. Warning that
Yes.
Jamaica's primary health care is weak, and what they said, I mean, it was frightening. Don't go to Jamaica unless you have good insurance.
And you should tell them, don't take away our doctors and our nurses by the
Hold on.
hundreds.
No, we
The
can't
US
tell them
people-
that.
Don't take
the
away our
US
teachers by the thousands.
Hold on, Sir P. The U.S. know what the Jamaican people have been feeling, and we can't stop them from taking the people because the people are going to them, because we are not compensating the people properly, and we are not providing a standard of living for them where they feel that they are secure. You can't stop them. You can't put a chain on them.
When you say they, what about you and I and Ronnie?
No,
Well, everybody is different. So those people are exercising their option to go somewhere else where they feel comfortable.
So certainly, one would expect a higher proportion of the budget than previously to be spent on healthcare.
Precisely.
My concern again is that every year we are beguiled by recurrent expenditures which are not tested for efficiency. They just follow over year after year, vastly increased this year because of the changes in the compensation package, and relatively small amounts of capital which we have trouble spending anyway.
Precisely, which is a fundamental point. So I'm glad you made that point. In every fundamental economic growth theory, whether the Solo Swan, whether the Marx theory, investments in capital are the most important variable. Right now, we have a situation in Jamaica. We have a wage bill of $404 billion and a capital budget of only $59 billion. That's an inefficient government. That's an extremely inefficient economy. We need to change that. And even the $59 billion, we do not have the capacity to spend it. That is telling you a whole lot about the economy, the weak absorptive capacity.
Can
So we need to fix that.
Can you tell us one or two things that money is supposed to be looking at?
What, the capital budget?
Yeah, what are they supposed to be spending on? Some materials.
Education, healthcare, transportation, the rural road network to improve our agricultural productivity, incentives for energy. When we look at what is happening now, we just got the trade figures for the first 9 months of last year. The raw material and intermediate goods bill, that's for materials that we used to produce, $1.9 billion. We're supposed to be engaging in R&D so that we can find more Jamaican products to substitute for those imported things. The fuel bill was $1.6 billion for the first 9 months, and we see the problems in the Middle East intensifying. So we should be focusing more on renewable energy. We hear that the bidding has now been postponed until April. All those things are things that we should be dealing with in a matter of urgency.
The bidding has been postponed till April.
Till April.
The bidding of what?
For the 100 megawatts of renewable energy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Ralston Hyman, let's take the break, please. When we come back, the question of how much we spend on each sector, of course, there's going to be cries for national security to get more again. These and the question of not just the amount, but the efficiency of the spend is what we want to talk about. We soon come back. Thanks for being with us on The Public Eye. Winding up an interview with Ralston Hyman, economist and financial commentator, about the upcoming budget. Ralston, do you see an expansive budget this year? Do you see what we spent, 1.1 trillion last year?
We're under a trillion. The minister came back and cut the budget this fiscal year, so we're under a trillion.
Okay.
So we are looking at maybe 1.15 trillion next year.
But given the limited, what you call absorptive capacity, you see, even if the money is there, it can go through the system like a dose of salt, but it doesn't necessarily broker the kind of development and the human fulfillment that it's supposed to.
Well,
Most certainly.
Let's not look at just a bad point.
No, it's not.
Hold on. If they work on roads, and we find people who can do the road work, because that's a problem.
Yeah. No, the problem is that we give it to our friends. Look,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's
we
what
give
we're
it to our
talking
friends
about.
who thief the money. There's one constituency that I know of that the amount of money that has been given out for roads, and the roads mash up in 3 weeks, 3 months' time.
So who do you blame?
I blame the politician.
Why?
The same time, of course, because they influence. You were one, I was one.
Yes.
And we couldn't determine, but we could influence who got the work.
Yeah, man.
That is why 13 or 14 persons of ministry make 98% of the people say we are thief. Although it's only 60 politicians. There are thousands and thousands of people not thief.
But it was one of the most uncomfortable tasks I had, Ralston, because I don't know anything about who we fix road.
Precisely. So I must leave it to the people who have the technical competence to deal with these things.
Except that sometimes...
But the politicians always get involved in these things.
And sometimes technical people are more tribalistic than the politician, my friend.
Precisely.
So the system wrong.
Yeah, but hold on, Ronnie. You've been saying this, and I've been following you, and I've been going ahead of you sometime.
Yeah.
The system that we're talking about, this system is our problem.
Yeah, man. We need to fix it.
Hold on, no? We can't put out road and say we're going to do this road and go and do it. We have to wait on a system that takes months to decide.
And that itself is part of the problem.
That is gone. People want water, the same thing. Hospitals, the same thing. So whereas roads, water, hospital, and education are vital to us, if you try to improve it, you have a problem.
Well, Ralston Purnell has just stated exactly the dilemma that we're in.
Precisely.
Yeah, but I do not see the capacity for change of this in the immediate future.
Certainly not in the near future.
Not in the political culture that we have.
No, too competitive. Yeah.
Well, I think that's clear. But we expect an expansive budget by comparison to previous years.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bigger than this year. He's not going to run away with it, but he's going to be a little bigger than this year, based on all the announcements that the Prime Minister has been making, because he's thinking more general than local when he goes out on these road shows and make all of these promises.
I'm going to beg you, although we crave a monthly appointment with you, when the budget is read, we call you again and let's see how you can analyze it.
Not a problem. But one thing that we noticed with starting on the unemployment numbers that is worth mentioning, they said they never did any labor force survey in 2022 because they had to do the census. We don't have any results for the census, and we don't have any labor force survey. That doesn't make sense.
Oi, and no census finished?
No.
There you go. Ralston, thanks always, eh?
Yeah, man, always a pleasure.
All the best. Ralston Hyman of Real Business.
Yeah, man.
Power 106. And we turn to Professor Trevor Monroe, the founding director of National Integrity Action. They commissioned a poll by Don Anderson, the reputable Jamaican pollster, Market Research Limited, on the levels of corruption perception in Jamaica at this time. This is very material regarding the probity of leadership, the willingness of people to participate, and also what happens to the expenditures that are engaged. Because if people are going to be corrupt, then the money, big as it is, will not go in the right direction. Trevor, greetings.
Greetings, Ronnie. Greetings, Purnell.
How you doing, my brother?
Long time.
Good,
Good
long
so
time.
far.
Trevor, you've been in political life for all your existence, but Pernell and I perhaps more directly in elected politics. I was shocked yesterday when I attended your National Integrity Action's function presenting the results of Don Anderson's poll on corruption perception, that 90% of the Jamaican people feel that politicians are generally corrupt.
It is a very, very distressing and disturbing finding, because what it does is paint the very honest and the very straightforward, and we know that there are many of those, with those who have abused their office and remain almost silent and unknown and untainted.
And another 90% or close to it feel that the police are corrupt too.
Yes, it really does indicate, Ronnie, a crisis in our trust of our democratic institutions. And I think that crisis has to do with literally decades of promises made and promises not kept. And in addition to that, the sense that those who are in high positions, and the Don Anderson poll confirmed this as well, that big fish get away literally with murder, and it is the small man who may steal akis wrongfully or mangoes who is immediately brought before the courts and given sentences that are not applying to those who are big fish and big thief. I think those two things are really a concern. It's not only in Jamaica, by the way. There's a real crisis across the democratic world, which the data that put out by Cambridge University, for example, tells us that the levels of popular dissatisfaction with democratic governance in 2023 and thereabouts is greater than ever since the 1990s. And what that has to do with, it has to do with a sense that the population at the base of the society across literally dozens of democracies feel that the system is not performing equitably and there's no fair deal for them.
But this is at the same time that members of the Jamaican Parliament are trying to weaken those institutions that are particularly set up by them to reduce corruption. So,
amazing.
So
I think we have to take some of the blame. The parliamentarians have to take some of the blame. I was in the Senate, as you know, for 10 years, between 1997 and 2006, and know what its working is like from the inside. There are very many honest people there. But the majorities in successive administrations have to really do more to ensure that laws that are designed to catch the corrupt are applied and strengthened as needed, so that there's not the sense that the Parliament is really, as it's happened recently, not the sense, definite proposals to weaken the authority of a body that both sides discussed and agreed on and was implemented in 2017, which is the Integrity Commission.
Our people listening to us from abroad need to recognize that on this Wednesday, the 31st of January, up to yesterday, the 30th of January, the same thing was going on in the Parliament of Jamaica. We're not skinning up, where the reports of the Integrity Commission were once again postponed from being tabled, yes? But for no good reason, where the people in charge can in fact manipulate the integrity system, where we in terms of credible political conduct, we try and force through the issue with the political ombudsman, yes, to tie it. I'm losing my cool.
Yeah, but let me say something to you.
It's easy to lose our cool on this one.
Trevor,
yes,
all three of us have been in the politics. All three of us.
So what you're saying?
And that at every time that you ask a question, Trevor, you and I fall in line with one of those corrupt.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
No. Let me ask you a question. Do you honestly think that 90% of the people of Jamaica say that the 40 or 50 people, well, just the cabinet, 16 are the most corrupt in Jamaica?
That they did.
Hold-
They
hold-
just
hold-
did.
That's what, that's what the survey indicates.
And not for the first time, Pernell.
It is because of what is given to them.
Yeah, but
Well, let us
be that as it may, Pernell.
Yeah.
Be that as it may.
They believe.
Even if they're being fed wrong news, yes. What I know is you can't run a society towards any good means if that continues to be the case.
If that
And when
continues to believe.
when we feed it, when people like Mr. Warmington and Mrs. Holness and Mrs. Others, yes, continue to feed it, yes,
Yeah,
and whoever else.
Hold on, Ronnie.
Let me ask a question in that regard.
Hold on.
When the Integrity Commission that we set up, and I say we, successive administrations debated and set up that law in 2017, and it then sends a report on the 22nd of January 2024. And in that message to the Senate and to the House leader, it says this is to be tabled as soon as possible. It's not tabled on the 23rd. And on the 30th, yesterday, the Speaker, acting in the chair that you used to occupy, said him don't know when it's going to table and I'm going to check it out. What are the people to think, Pernell?
Well, I'm going to ask the question, why they say that? Do they have a reason?
But obviously, because the thing's supposed to lay and it don't lay.
No,
it's
hold on,
obvious something is there to hide.
No. They have sent, I was Speaker.
What right does an elected official have to keep the business of the public about their leaders silent
Let me finish the
or
point I was
secret?
making. I was Speaker. I got a communication from the Integrity Commission on Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Parliament half day.
Uh-huh.
I should be tabled on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I didn't finish reading it.
Uh-huh.
And I tried to say, can we do it next week?
Uh-huh.
Which is a few days.
Uh-huh.
And people brought out about corruption.
Uh-huh.
And who hears? The public.
But first of all,
let me ask you, the three of us are politicians.
Yeah.
Can the politician be corrupt against all the others, and the others are not corrupt?
which other ones?
Well,
Who
who
is
was
in-
in charge of you and I?
Who is in charge?
Who was in charge of you and I?
The electorate.
The electorate.
Yeah, so-
No. After we are elected,
Uh-huh.
somebody's in charge of Trevor Monroe, you and I.
The Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition.
And you
speaking
answer
of?
it and
No,
tell
no. You're giving me riddles here.
No, I am saying we have sold the people of Jamaica. What you hear they say about Trevor? It's not true.
So what are you saying then? That the people are mistaken and the politicians? What went on yesterday in God knows is all right? You couldn't be saying that.
About what they.
About the integrity reports. Trevor, you take over.
If Pernell were Speaker, I guarantee that would not happen.
It would never happen.
No, but
I
I'm not
guarantee
talking
that.
about that, you know.
No. What we're talking about,
we
Pernell, we set up a commission, the purpose of which is to investigate and to report its findings to the people through the Parliament as soon as possible as the report is completed.
That word that you
So
use
we
here,
have-
that word
that
that
is
you
what-
use.
Yes. And
That
when that's not possible, the Speaker then says, as you would say, members of Parliament, I just got this report this morning. I don't have a chance to look at it. It must be tabled to all of you and through you to the media and to the people. Please give me till next week. Nothing like that yesterday or the day before.
But I did that, and they bring a resolution against me to throw me out,
Well,
including Ronnie. No.
I
I must confess, you were not a part of the resolution.
Right, sir. But in any event, there is
No, I'm not trying to say what I did justify what happened yesterday.
No, but no. Well, I'm glad you're not. But Trevor, the key thing,
because I don't know what happened yesterday.
the bottom line is that the tribal system of parliament, this paranoid unwillingness to share power, is obvious and palpable right now. Why bring a bill to subsume the political ombudsman in the electoral committee? You consult with nobody and you want to pass it all in one day? What is that?
Obviously unacceptable. Let me tell you my big positive takeaway from yesterday in respect of that unacceptable bill. that positive takeaway is your long-standing associate and mine as well as friend, Carl Samuda.
Yeah.
Carl Samuda demonstrated today what the parliamentary system requires of backbenchers and what Prime Minister Holness on September 2020, when he assumed office, invoked and enjoined his members of parliament to do, which is his words, not mine, not to bang the desk in approval every time a minister opens his mouth, but to exercise independent thinking and discretion. If a minister makes a proposal which has weaknesses or which is unacceptable, to speak out in exercising your responsibility to control the executive on behalf of the people. That's what Carl Samuda did yesterday, and I'm happy that Delroy had enough sense to postpone that unacceptable approach where you're going to table, debate, and pass a bill relating to two institutions that the law says should be protected in the Constitution but have not been protected. The Office of the Political Ombudsman since 2002, the bill says, protect him in the Constitution, the Electoral Commission similarly, and instead of going forward as the law anticipates, what you come with yesterday is to subsume the two within 4 weeks of an election with no discussion and no indication in the throne speech of the Governor General on February 14, 2023, that this is priority legislation, and further no indication in the GOJ's list of priority bills, which up until a few days ago I reviewed. 46 bills are there, nothing in there about subsuming those two offices. It's not acceptable, and I'm glad Carl Samuda spoke out.
I believe Andrew Wheatley too.
And the PSOJ and the NIA, we've all said it's not acceptable, and I'm sure Pernell will agree that that approach is not acceptable as well.
Let me tell you something what I agree and what you don't know. I was part of that. I was part of the creation of that.
Yes.
And half of what is happening wasn't what it was created for.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Half of what is happening where they have an office with 40 or 30 or 40 people sit down. That's what Reverend Blair, who when there's a war in a particular part of a constituency, he is there with the war makers to talk to them. Hold on. They have changed this to an executive situation where they have an office and some pretty friends and walking around. No, that wasn't what was presented.
But you can correct that.
Eh?
You can correct that.
Pernell?
How do I correct
Not join it up with the electoral
How do you correct that?
Certainly don't join it up with the electoral committee to do that.
No, hold on.
You can't do that.
You're trying to push me to ask me if I
heard you.
Carl yesterday.
Yes.
And what my...
Carl and Andrew Wheatley was asking some good questions too.
No, I must tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. That because I know that what it was set up for, I have to agree with Carl. And if I were there, I would not have support.
Well, that's good.
You know what? I want to go a little further than that, Ronnie. Not only would I not have agreed were in the Senate at the time, and Pernell just said he would not have agreed were in the House, but we are trying to reinvent the wheel. Under the Bruce Golding administration, we call Jamaicans have short memory. I went back and I did a little checking because I remember that resolution when it came to the Parliament. I made submissions from NIA in 2012. On May the 10th, 2011, Prime Minister Bruce Golding told the House in its budget presentation that his administration had completed the drafting of the bill that would put the Electoral Commission, the Office of the Political Ombudsman, the Office of the Public Defender under constitutional protection so that they would be beyond the purview of any government parliamentary majority to do with it what it would will. And further to that, Bruce proposed and we agreed, NIA and others, that the code of conduct should be put in many respects into law so that it would no longer just be a gentleman's agreement, but that the strengthened Office of the Political Ombudsman with teeth would be enforcing an item of legislation to ensure that the continued cleaning up of our politics would continue. That's 2011, May 10th. We are now 2023. And instead of picking out that law, dusting it off, seeing how it can be modernized and improved for our circumstances, we're going back ways.
I wonder why, or rather, I'm clear why. Trevor Mondo, this is a time of electioneering. We're likely to be in that cycle for several months. The question of campaign contributions and the award of government largesse to prime political pumps. What is the position of National Integrity Action? What views do you draw from the survey that you have mentioned Don Anderson doing?
Well, first of all, I think the survey is relevant to the extent that we still don't have a law relating to campaign finance that gives disclosure beyond the Electoral Commission to the public. Now, this is important. It's most democracies, the people know who is paying the piper and therefore has the opportunity to call the tune, whether it is in the United States, who is giving Trump money, or the United Kingdom, as the case may be. In Jamaica, we pioneered legislation for the Commonwealth Caribbean. No other country had it. I remember in the Senate, I put the resolution in 1998 that we needed campaign finance legislation. It was agreed both sides. It took 16, 17 years before we got it. And that only applies now to general elections, where there is a limit on how much any individual or entity can give to a particular candidate or to a political party, and that has to be disclosed to the Electoral Commission, and that's a step forward. We need to go beyond that to apply that legislation to local government as well as to move forward to make the disclosure not only to the ECJ, but in whatever way with protections to the public as a whole. So that's part of the reason why there is such a level of distrust and suspicion in the public, because they don't know who giving money to who and who getting benefit as a result. They just see contracts going. In fact, up until recently, the law required that on a quarterly basis, the award of contracts to which entities for how much to do what would be disclosed to the public. That has stopped in the last year. So we don't know who are getting the contracts, for how long, and for what purpose when we used to. So transparency is the kind of antidote to distrust.
But it sounds like we're backsliding.
We're backsliding. There's no question at all. And I can name 3 or 4 years in which we're backsliding. We're no longer saying who gets which contract to do what for how long. We're no longer having a situation established again by Prime Minister Golden, where members of the opposition chair the majority of House Select Committees. That was reversed in 2020.
Reversed on the basis that that if the government chaired it, then they would be more active and more probing. When in fact most of them have not even met.
There you go.
So the intention obviously was to suppress any kind of opposition, any kind of criticism, which is essential to a democracy.
Absolutely, and that's certainly not acceptable. And that's an area of regression that needs to be reversed. And I think it can be reversed with more voices pointing out the implication of this, as has been done when proposals are made which are wrong. Enough public people, citizens cry out, and it's reversed. The most recent case I can think of is when it was proposed to raise the allowance for senators by 179%. The opposition spoke out, civil society and the man in the street spoke out, and the government withdrew it. So that there are instances where the government is responsive once the people cry out loud enough.
Let me ask you a question. 3 of us have been through. You're a senator, and you also run us for election. Ronnie and the short 3 of us. Are there people who are willing to assist you in trying to get elected who will not give you that assistance if they're going to put their name out?
Yes, of course there are such people. Okay. And if there are such people, they should be. We should create a climate where they have nothing to fear. And some of us, hard as it is, some ought to say, if you're not willing to stand up beside me publicly and say that you are assisting me, no thanks.
Yeah, but those people.
Many of those people make a step forward, in 2011 for the first time, after advocacy and pressure. Some of the major financial institutions did indicate publicly, disclose to the people how much they gave to which party. Other private sector entities didn't. Some of the biggest ones kept quiet. But there are people and there are institutions willing to say, put it into the public sphere, how much they give to which party and how much they give to which candidate. Those people should be cherished.
And why don't people want disclosure? Because they don't want to be thought of as contributing to X who is considered corrupt. That's the reason why. I want us to so elevate the political service that people will consider it to be an honor to make a contribution.
Let me ask you if there's another way than the one you have just put it. Are there people who know that if they make a contribution to Trevor, your people are going to see them as being Trevorite?
But that's why we have to kill it, sir.
And as such, hurt them.
No, we have to kill that sense.
Well, that's the point.
I don't know how you I don't know how you plan to kill it. Because it kill it, you have to kill many of us.
No,
all of us.
You're not. You are the least one to be fatalistic after all you've been through in life, Dr. Monroe. National Integrity Action. The kind of proposals that were made yesterday. I think there were 4 areas, just as we close this interview, that you feel have to be dealt with.
Well, I think as we speak, number one is to withdraw that proposal that's now before the Parliament to subsume the 2 important parliamentary commissions.
Yes.
And what we should be doing instead is giving them constitutional protection as was envisaged when the law was passed. Secondly, I believe that both sides have in the past agreed that this guessing game as to when a local government election is going to be called, worse, a general election, needs to stop. And that what we should have is what was instituted in so many democracies.
And what has been promised here, fixed election
And
dates.
what has been promised here, a fixed election date.
Yeah, promised by the very Prime Minister.
Exactly so. And there are other areas as well, Ronnie.
Yes, but that's,
the question of the Integrity Commission, of course, this idea that they should be gagged from indicating, which happened for the first time in Jamaica's modern political history, that 6 members of our parliament are being investigated for illicit enrichment. And we can't be told who it is. That is out of order.
And the reports, their reports of whatever nature and keep being suppressed by keep being suppressed on a weekly basis. This thing is creeping greater and greater with every passing day. We have a lot to be vigilant about.
And the final point I'd make, though, is a promise, not just a promise by a government, but a commitment from the Governor General himself in the throne speech on February 14, 2023, that one of the important tools in combating corruption would be advanced in the 2023-24 parliamentary year, namely the unexplained wealth order, which would form part of the proceeds of crime legislation.
That has not
been done, and it needs to be done to help us to reduce the perception that there are people making big money, both private sector and in the parliament, without having any adequate explanation.
Dr. Trevor Monroe, Founding Director of National Integrity Action. Thanks so much for today and for your work.
Thank you very much, Ronnie. Thank you, Pranav.
Okay, Trevor.
We take a break on the Public Eye. This is Bridge 99 FM. More when we come back. Stay tuned. Thanks very much for being with us on the Bridge 99 FM, this extraordinary radio station that beams out the best of information and analysis, controversy and resolution to Jamaicans all over the world. Catch us on the internet, catch us live, catch us locally. It's all the same. The Public Eye with Pernell Charles and myself. Welcoming Dr. Lascelles Graham. Hi, Moggy, how are you?
Quite good, thanks. Thank you for having me, and all the best to Pernell and yourself and your audience.
Thank you very much. Dr. Lascelles Graham Pernell, esteemed veteran of the football sport and concerned.
And the one who wants government to ban taking children from...
He doesn't want government to do it.
He
will tell you, but let me just set the stage for our listeners and for you.
Yes.
I got a list of, which I consider to be from a reliable source, of students who are being recruited from outside of Jamaica to come to our high schools to compete in in football or track and field. Yes? And this aggravates the issue which we have discussed with Moggy Graham before, where people are transferring from one school in Jamaica to another. Now it seems that we are taking this football club and football academy idea even further. And I am particularly concerned, let me use no stronger language, that one of those, in one instance, the school that I revere most, the school that I attended, is involved with it too, which if it is true, would be a disgrace. Dr. Lascelles Graham, what is the truth as you know it?
Well,
You can say as I do, Doctor, that while while you're thinking what to say to Ronnie, let me say this. It has been going on for a while, Ronnie, that people from certain countries
You must stop
come
saying
to
that,
Jamaica and go to other school. What my concern is,
Which is good.
they are not only going to football, there is a proposal for them to get full education.
If they're getting good lessons and they're playing games at the same time, that's a different matter.
But
Lascelles Graham, you're our guest. Tell us what the situation is. You follow this closely.
I think we need to stop pussyfooting around this thing. I mean, we all know, and there has been, we have had statistics on it. We have had sports commentators talking about it. They have done documentaries, programs on TV. They have written about it. The people what we are concerned about is our public schools being used as sports academies and clubs should be used. In other words, carrying out the mission of sports academies and clubs, which nothing is wrong with that for sports academies and clubs. Sports is big business and important in different ways. But in terms of public school, sports has a certain role and function, and it has been corrupted by our political leadership, by our education leadership, by our church leadership, and we need to stop pussyfooting around the business of why we're bringing them in and they're getting education and what have you. How can we be bringing in foreigners for running and football, whatever, into our schools when we have so many Jamaicans crying out for good schooling?
And for exposure.
And for exposure. And the thing is, again, we need to go back to what is the function, what is the mission of our schools, our public schools.
Now, remember, you're talking to a number of people listening to us, probably abroad, who are fervent alumni of their particular school and who take great pleasure in ensuring and helping their school to come first, second, or in any event to do well.
Nothing is wrong with that.
No, everything is good about that.
Yes, and let me say this, as I've said already, I am a passionate person about sports. I used to eat, sleep, you name it, sports, especially football. So I'm not an anti-sport. What I am against is us corrupting, distorting, warping the role of sports in our public schools. In our public schools, sports is supposed to be, like all other co-curricular activities, sports are supposed to be targeted to the children in the school.
What evidence?
We have a protocol which says you get to our schools based on how prepared you are to deal with the curriculum at that school. Okay? As I've said before, it makes no sense taking a youngster into school who believes that 1 + 1 is 11, and you're exposing him to the best physics lab, the best chemistry, whatever, and the best biology, whatever else.
Is that what is that
resources?
What evidence do you have?
Is that happening?
That the practice of
course it is happening. I mean,
overseas recruitment. What do you? Is there hard evidence that that is on? It is ongoing. It is intensifying.
For example, JC is appealing decision by ISA
it's
not to
intersecondary
allow
school. That's in public
African people from Ghana to come to JC. There are other schools that have brought people from Africa and from other places around.
Stop a minute. Why would the Intersecondary School Association be engaged unless they were being brought specifically for some area controlled by that body?
Of course, and the fact is that that's what I'm saying, Ronnie.
No, I'm just spelling it out for our people.
Around.
Yeah.
And formerly schools used to say, and there are so many ills associated with this thing, in terms of even corruption, as you've been talking about on the interview before. In other words, we used to have in the past where schools were doing it, bringing in youngsters for sports, and saying they don't do that, they don't recruit for sports and so on. Now they are much more open with it. So schools will admit that they bring in the people for sports. It's no longer a secret. But the fact is they're doing it. And I think that we need to look at what is the purpose of sports. And I heard Professor Monroe mentioned before the business of reinventing the wheel. Public schools are as they are because it has been proven to be the most efficient way to get one of the top priorities in society accomplished, which is education, formal education, which is dealing with preparing our citizens for life, especially in the academic, technical, and vocational areas.
Sports health.
This is the curriculum. And the fact is that youngsters who qualify to do the curriculum at a certain school are fortified or should be the targets of co-curricular activity. All right?
Let's stop a minute. Bernard, your turn.
I have a problem. I have to support a major part of what Dr. Graham is saying.
Yes.
But I still look back on my own life from where I came and who was there and say that if somebody come and say, listen, I'm going to move you to a school where you can get a better education.
You would take it.
What I mean? And you are getting this chance because you can contribute sports. Now, so when I come to Kingston, I am putting us in. I am taught what I wasn't getting there, or what I was getting there, plus what I didn't.
So, what about the people who were in Kingston where you came to, and who wanted to be on that team but couldn't get on it because they brought you in?
No, because they brought me in because they were not qualified.
Qualified to run and jump.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if I can do biology, if I can,
got you right there.
Just give me a break. If I can do biology, maths, and physics, and jump,
so why not deal with the man you have in your school?
No, because I don't have the chance down in Macedonia.
No. So it's an act of charity. You say to recruit you from Macedonia, but what lessons?
Whether it is charity or not, if I am coming to JC,
I want you to be able.
Just hold a minute. When I'm coming to JC, where I'm going to get an education.
Yes, one moment,
and I can contribute my running.
So
why are you objecting?
My answer is the same reason that Usain Bolt stayed at William Knibb.
What?
Yes. He stayed at William Knibb because William Knibb could give him both the education and the athletic advantage.
You're trying to stop me. You stopped me a while ago, but guess what? Hold on. Lucien Brought is a specialist. I remember he ran the first Saturday evening he ran. PJ Patterson pointed him out and said, watch that boy.
But sure.
May I come in?
Sure, please.
Just to say this, that's why people have the perception that in Jamaica it's corruption that runs things. We have a certain protocol that should be followed, but it's not followed because he's our friend and because this boy can run or jump or whatever it is. We bring him in, although the rules say you should only come in if you qualify, you pass certain criteria. You don't pass it, but you are coming in because
somebody go and
you
make
can
it up,
run or jump.
They're going to make it up.
And I'm saying to you that just like you, as I say, we have to understand the business of division of labor. We have division of labor for efficiency. So one institution cannot be all things to all people. We have this thing called education and public school. And the fact that public school's mission is to give and prepare the students formally for life, right? In certain areas, which I have spoken about before.
You've said this, but I must tell you, I have big question marks about competitive professional sport, and you persuade me because the lower you bring the professional character into it, the money business into it, is the more, in my view, you reduce the competitive spirit, you reduce the spirit of gamesmanship, of character development, which is an essential element of it. And if you don't do that with a purity, I use that word purposely, at the high school level, then by the time you get to your football academy or your professional league in running or cricket, yes, you are going to be caught up in all kinds of activity. This is at the base of all of the abuses of rules, drugs, etc. that you see.
Society,
all right, Minister.
Of course, the whole society.
Okay.
And what I want to say is this: that we need to understand that the role of sports in school is different to the role of sports in professional clubs and sports academies.
I'm making a broader moral point, because sooner or later, if we follow this, then somebody from Africa will be eligible to play on the West Indies cricket team, and somebody from Korea will come to join the Reggae Boys. Why not? Because you have money to buy him, to tell him to come, and that is all right? No, sir.
But
and the thing is this too, Ronnie,
Mr. Graham, just give me a chance to talk to this Minister of Education. Why then, when all of my children who are going to take exam to go to, they are to choose two schools. Choose the first one, second and third choice. Why you give them that?
No, because there's every good
and all of them choose champion or top.
There's every good reason to do that, because for issues of to do with academic performance, to do with personal convenience, to do with heritage, all of these. But if you're doing it in order, excluding all of those other criteria, if you're doing it in order to get a place on the cricket team.
Hold on, Randy. Don't go any further. You have answered the question,
Okay, good.
and it sounds good. No, but that's
that's the most I ever get from Pernell.
Hold on, and Dr. Graham, and I'll accept that. But where you and Dr. Graham leave me, it's still out of country where a boy.
I want you to be able to
everything except
I want the
opportunity.
No, that's purposeful.
May I say something?
Sure.
I think we have to recognize, that there is scarcity. In other words,
self-imposed scarcity, Dr. Graham. Because if the boy from Macedonia ought to be able to go to Brownstown High or to York Castle, yes, close to him. Yes, and be able to have a proper program there where his talents can blossom, where his character can develop, where he can get a reasonably decent education. There have always been differences of overall differences, but he shouldn't.
Yeah, but let me say this.
But could I say amen? Yeah. Because if that was happening, it would have been good.
But
when a man, let me say
it can
this.
happen.
But that's why I'm saying to you that we have to recognize that there is scarcity of schools delivering quality education.
Amen.
That is why we have the protocol which we have in countries like Jamaica, where we end recognizing this scarcity. In other words, the demand for quality education by far outstrips the supply. That's a fact. And while we work to remedy that, we have to continue living. And so that's why we have set up the protocol the way we have. Again, for efficiency. You want to get the people who are best prepared to deal with the subject matter at a given school, where you have the best facilities there, because that is efficiency. Those are the students who will be better able to use the resources, come back and help the country.
I want to
all
see.
Right?
I want
we don't want to waste the resources by bringing in people who can kick ball, don't have the base for using these great resources, and we waste them.
Okay.
And I think we need to also.
But I'm very sorry about Issa, you know.
Yes, it would be ludicrous. Let me just say this, Ronnie. It would be ludicrous for a sports academy to be bringing in youngsters based on their intellectual
their poetic ability.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Because intellect is
not
important
the first
to how you
requirement.
do the sports.
Yeah.
But that can't be the criteria for bringing them there.
Well, listen.
It would be ludicrous, and it is just as ludicrous for us to be doing with our public schools.
I am calling upon the Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, JAPS, a very pedigreed organization headed by Mr. Linvern Wright and others, to busy themselves in this instance. And I am really reaching out. I said I am disappointed in them, and I will continue that position. The Intersecondary School Sports Association needs to be definitive on this, because they're spoiling up people and they're spoiling up the spirit of the sport, and they are emphasizing things which do not help in the overall character and character building and wholesome outcomes of the people involved. I long for the day when the Ghanaians and the Trinidadians and the Grenadians and everyone else will come to Jamaica, because we have the finest educational institutions.
Definitely.
That is what I want to do.
Yes, I support that, and I'm saying to you,
and the government should make they don't have to legislate anything.
And look here,
all they need to do is to make a statement of principle.
One of the things is this, that when I have been around the island talking to principals all over, and one of the things is this, in private they agree with you.
Yeah. Well, there you are.
They just don't have the stomach to stand up
courage
and
is very
say it,
important.
and our children suffer for that.
Last word to you, Mr. Charles.
Well, I am saying, Dr. Graham, you have brought me like a closer to some of your philosophy.
Salvation, Muggy.
No, and I am not. I am brave or active
you're
enough
wonderful.
to choose and to say it right. But still, Ronnie, you'll have to tell me after you're gone, if the choice is given to students to choose which school they want to go, if they have a privilege, it offer biology, it offer maths, it offer running, it offer that.
Offer champs.
Right? But lastly, if I am in Nigeria and I have a bright boy and I want him in sports, and I look to Jamaica and say, I see Campion or JC, and I apply for
you won't be able to do that if our principle is clear. They would, because Campion and JC wouldn't take him on that basis. They would take him on an overall view of his capacities and of his ability to benefit from that school. Thanks for the word, Buggy
Motive is
Graham.
important. Motive
Very important.
is important.
Thanks for your call. All the best, Dr. Lascelles
Okay,
Graham.
thank you very much for having me.
Good.
Thank you, Doctor.
Retired captain of the
You're
Jamaica football team, sports enthusiast, and man of principle in respect of this issue. Time for the break. The Public Eye with the Open Mind on the Bridge 99 FM comes back afterwards. This is the Public Eye on the Bridge 99 FM. I'm Ronald Thwaites, and the Honourable Pernell Charles is the co-host. Well, now, let's use the time we usually put at the beginning of the program just to share our views.
And I want to disrupt you by telling
Go ahead.
because of your professional position.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you to do some investigation. Let's go back to the lady at Montego Bay Airport.
The person who had the psychotic episode.
Yes, you put it nice. Put it how my people understand it. Oh, call it psychotic episode. That's a medical term.
Yeah.
My friend up radio tell me, I bet you somebody give her something for drink.
Might be.
Or smoke.
Even so.
And it attacked her at the airport.
Yes.
Now, I'm asking you how you plan to handle that with the police. What role should security play and medical play so that we don't have the image that has gone out that here's a woman who, whether she gets ganja for smoke or she gets something for drink and it mash her up at the airport, the way we treat it.
The role of the police is to keep the peace, and if the person needed to be restrained, then they would have to be engaged. One, two. I think your own relative indicated that in a situation like that, in a heavy traveled area like the airport, one would expect medical professionals to be on call, so that they could have assisted.
Yes.
Okay. And where you have certainly your personnel at the airport it would be good if they had some basic training in how to deal with severe behavioral aberrations.
Right.
Yes. So
I think you need to repeat that
Yeah.
and make it a request.
Yeah.
Because
I do.
this is not the only lady
No.
who is going to fall there, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's not mental; it can be physical.
Quite, yes. And I assume that there was a team on call there who would handle that kind of situation, because it is one of the most heavily concourse area in any country, second only to the markets.
Yes.
You know, so we can. I'm sure they will improve their protocols in this regard. You know, where do we? Who in a society, any society, but particularly in a human-sized society like Jamaica, Jamaica is magical for this. You know, we're not so large that you get lost. Whatever you do for good or for ill is evident. Yes, that's good. We're human-sized.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we're not so small that you buck up in the same people every day, and you have there's no breadth and width of a community. Given all of that, where do we set our standards? Perhaps only 30 or 35. I don't think it touched 40% of our people go to church anymore. The schools are very caught up with passing exams and with achieving academic targets. Our political culture is, as we know, heavily divided and competitive, not prone to set standards.
Describe competition, because it means one side fighting the other.
The other, yeah.
To get into power.
I'm going to come back to that.
Yeah.
Our culture generally, our recreational culture, has great beauty to it in some respects. But
very competitive.
Yeah, but it doesn't have any. It doesn't really have any standards that are that speak to the common good.
No, look at that again. There's much morality in our sports, it's pushing that, and that even when forget his name now, said that if this is happening, they're going to pull out of it.
Don Webby.
Right? So there are forces that want to see perfection in this sort of presentation. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm asking whether this isn't the moment when we have to say to ourselves, to ask ourselves, what do we really stand for as a people? What are the truths that we hold sacred, like the American Constitution starts? Howard Mitchell, who we interviewed a week or two ago, asked the same question at a lecture that he gave recently that I was part of. What are those truths? Do we really believe in truth, in honesty, in respect for each other, that our primary purpose in life is to gain happiness and sufficiency by serving the common good, the general interest?
Right. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
There are many of us in the society who have those qualities.
Yeah, those values.
Those values. Maybe you're saying that, how are we going to get it, that majority of us? Because even if you just look at it, the quantity is a top-up.
Would you agree with me that it is less so? It is, those qualities, those values are less evident now than they were when you were a boy.
So was the population.
Of course.
And so was the fact that women were having children after they were over 20. And they are having now that I saw a woman who is 18-year-old. No, she's 20-something and have a grandchild. I said, when did you have a baby when she was 12?
I've seen that too.
Right?
Yeah.
So the problem is that
when are we going to be
some social qualities have fallen.
but then, you see, we many of us in business, in thoughtful life, if we can describe that, at the universities, in politics, yes, have the view that those things are to be assumed they will take care of themselves. Well, they won't, you know.
They can never take care of themselves.
When I hear people speak about the crime problem or the antisocial behavior towards women and children, these things, I'm immediately anxious to say, what is the background to it? Why is it happening? Yes?
You know what I say, Ronnie? Whenever I listen to that, I said, it never used to happen because that and that and that. Because the teacher, the police, and the parson, those three pillars were in communities and they were respected. There was also a man who was the DC.
Okay.
And and the church, the dominance of the church, that in the church there were sister this and brother this and sister this and that.
Yeah, and there still is to some extent. But then how are we going to correct this? And what concerns me is that our national leaders who determine how much money they take out of our pocket and how it is spent, they don't address these things, not with any particularity at all. No, I have a thought, yes? Not for the first time, but right now, we have the leaders of our two political parties, yes, who have, from what we can see and we believe, sterling family lives. Yes?
Yeah.
They need to be, they need not to, you don't have to boast. You don't have to pretend anything. But to say, listen, this is the way to do it, you know. Yes? We have a Governor General who, in my view, he and his wife are people of sterling character, strong religious people, strong civic background. But
and you can give the Seventh-day Adventists a little
Of course. Both
of them are
Indeed.
Yes.
I respect that. I respect Seventh-day Adventists.
Yes.
But are they influencing people in terms of some basic things, like the values we just spoke of, like sexual and family relationships, like recognizing that it's really important, if we're going to ever have a peaceful society, to have a society which is less unequal than it is now. Yes? Where at least we put forward some of the values in our media, in our what we write, what we say, that these things are in our schools, that these things have to be taught. They cannot be assumed to be there.
Could I disturb you on these things that to be taught?
You need to help me.
Because, Ronnie, recall, not just now, long ago,
Yes.
many of the mothers who had to have the child because she produced it were looking towards getting that child to school quickly
Yeah.
because the teacher can take care of him. You remember? And we have up to now, right? The mother has one in her belly, one around the breast, and holding the other hand. And you don't see the father. And you don't even know if the father goes home.
So where's the campaign now that says, yes?
Well, you congratulated me.
Yeah.
I went down to a meeting in St. Elizabeth. And I said to the councillors, when last have you gone into your district to find out who didn't go to school? Who is going to school?
Right.
And why that person not going to school?
Can you think of any greater responsibility for a councillor than to do just that?
Well, hold on. So when you go and you find out that they don't have any water,
Yeah.
and they don't have any light,
Yeah.
and they don't have any food, that job that you have, it's literally home-styled. It's in your yard.
Yes, sir. So I would like to elect a councillor in the upcoming local government elections who I saw the potential or knew the history of doing just what you say, what you told the council of St. Elizabeth. Yeah. And if all he can tell me is that he's a member of Orange or Green tribe, yes, okay, and that he would beg so-and-so to come pick up the garbage or beg a road to be fixed, yes, I'm in a business with him.
Ronnie, I have to break to tell you this. I was driving on a highway in Kingston. I can't remember which one now. And I saw a big box in the middle of the road. High traffic, everybody block up and going around the box. You know what was it? It was not a pothole. Where what do you call it now?
What, manhole, sewage?
A sewage, a manhole, a sewage.
Yeah.
The top was removed by somebody or somewhere. And instead of getting something, even like a piece of board to put in there, I, who was not a member of that comment, that thing, see a big, I nearly say hell, piece of board block off the road. What are the managers and the leaders doing?
So let us draw these considerations very granular and locally. What the hell is a councillor to do? And what we've done is to take away the councillor's responsibility, because every single one who you see on the television and the people point out, say what this needs to be done, whether it is a manhole cover or whatever. They tell you about they're going to make representation to the Ministry of Local Government. What foolishness is that, former Minister of Local Government, Pernell Charles?
Well,
this is ignorance. The principle.
But hold on, it's all good to talk.
No,
no.
We can do too. Talk must direct our actions.
We have not started the action. First, the quality of councillor. Secondly, the distribution of what you get to them, how it goes.
I beg your pardon, sir. Councillor getting good money now.
More than what the minister was getting?
Absolutely. You and I,
don't touch my pension because
mine is nowhere near yours. And the point is that a councillor now is getting 4 times what you and I got as full ministers.
How do you change it, Rennie?
You change it by first of all, by identifying the need for change, which you and I are doing, not with any superiority, not with any pretentiousness, not looking anything for ourselves, okay? 1. 2, you try and spread this among people of goodwill, people who are interested in this beautiful, blessed country and its people that we are. Thirdly, what we do is insist and expect that our leaders are going to speak about it and are going to represent this. There is no reason for the superstructure of local government and central government in respect of local municipalities that we have now. The only reason it is there is because the presumption is that everybody thief.
Yeah, but you said something earlier I wanted to either support or oppose. How do we get along without stop cursing each other and separate the nation into you cursing for me or I cursing for you?
First of all, we hopefully you and I are setting an example, not because we want to be pretentious, but just because we get on better and we recognize value in each other. Yes? I keep saying it, I keep writing it. Andrew Holness needs Mark Golding. Mark Golding needs Andrew Holness. The state in which Jamaica is now, the institutions that regulate behavior, that form culture, are very much in disrepute. They are weakened. And we in order to change them, we need to redress that.
And
politics is the most important one.
Somebody said to me yesterday,
yeah,
the way you are running trade getting on, could they make the two of you a joint ombudsman? No, Ronnie, you weren't in politics when the ombudsman started.
No.
Okay, it was not something that the ombudsman is fighting within the parliamentarian, you know.
No, but I hear that.
Hold on, it was
a peacemaker.
It was a peacemaker in communities
sure.
where we have problems.
So that's why we don't have that now.
Hold on. It has moved away.
No. It has moved away. You told us earlier, and it is true.
Yeah.
So come we turn it back. Now, sometimes you have to go back to go forward, you know, sir.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yes, you have to reverse and straight.
Reverse and straight now.
And come straight.
Married men know that, don't we?
Yes.
Yes. So we can do that instead of having that stupidness that went on in Parliament yesterday. Yes. We could have just do that now. Without no big money more.
You mean put me and you as a joint?
No. Just you and me too old. But
No. You might be too old, but not me.
All right, sir. I concede.
Oh no, too old. If you're saying you and I are too old.
Yeah. All right, sir. But we could find the person. I can think of the person who could do that. Yes, there are more people who have inherited the mantle of somebody like Bishop Harold Blair, who was the first political ombudsman. Yeah. Okay, so we say, we agree on that. First of all, we talk about it, you and I, from different sides. Okay, and then we say we can agree on a person, or we can agree on how to choose such a person, and we do it instead of this huge cascade that we have.
Yeah, but could I disturb right there, Ronnie? When I listened to what was happening in Parliament about the ombudsman, it was nothing close to what we used to have.
No,
there was a war over in East Kingston, and Blair was there by daylight.
So you said. And I remember that.
Right?
So I'm asking you the question.
Oh, no, it's not become an executive position.
But that doesn't have to be.
No. It's become a position now with members of parliament. It's members of parliament. It moved now from the supporters of parliament, you know.
But if the members of parliament are behaving in a controversial or consequential matter, they need to be investigated by the political ombudsman too.
That is so, but it seemed to me as if the whole thing is members of parliament.
Look here, that can be corrected if it is so, and so that isn't the issue. But what we must not do, and what angers me when I see what happened yesterday, angers me in two matters. One, because Delroy Chuck knows better. I can quote his own writings in the papers to him before he was a minister of government, and I know him personally. He knows better than to bait a situation like that. He must have had the approval of cabinet in order to bring the thing. Why would the cabinet do this? Where are the voices of reason and collaboration and good sense there?
Could I support you on one point?
Yeah.
The Electoral Commission has all of that power. As right now, without getting that way. In other words, they are the only one who can walk into a constituency and stop an election.
Yeah, but that is not, you don't want to come to that. You're talking about some things that are different without that extreme outcome. Secondly, this bit about the Integrity Commission. Yes? Why is the Speaker demeaning her role to the extent which it appears that she is supporting suppression of the Integrity Commission. And at the same time, the government of which she is a part wants to see itself and to be seen by others as being anti-corruption. It don't make sense. Do you think do you think this exercise of authority, I have made my decision and it stands? Do you think this is convincing anybody? What it is convincing, it is in fact, let me retract. It is convincing people that UNO have something to hide, because the best thing you could ever do is
when you look at me, I say, "UNO." It cannot suggest that you're talking me.
No, I'm not talking you. You are past that.
No, I
seriously.
Look,
oh my goodness, the high-handedness.
Let me make it. I'm not making a sport out of it, because it's a serious matter.
Yeah.
But the truth is this: we need to lift the standard.
But yes, sir. But again, look at another instance. Sorry to have to mention these. The National Housing Trust goes into this contract with this company called Dexim, the principals of which are known to have a strong political orientation. $650 million and not one dege house handover. And now you have a settlement, yes? And the terms of the settlement, suspicion by everybody that the housing trust have to either forego or to pay out more money. But we can't be sure, because it is a secret settlement. It is a secret settlement in the same way that when the Prime Minister years ago...
Who says secret? Who says a secret settlement?
That is a term of it. That's why we can't know.
Hold on. The contract say that nobody is to know. Although it is my money.
The settlement, yes, sir.
No,
settlement.
No.
But
no,
no,
I'm not accepting that from
well,
you.
Well, please don't. Please, and if
I'm
it turns,
going to check it myself.
Well, indeed, but
But
check at the same time when we had the scandal in Petrojam the other time. Yes, a settlement is made to part company with a lady. Yes. Who, well, let me not say anything. And the settlement is secret, cannot be disclosed. What nonsense is that? And it's public money, I do it.
But somebody asked me, what is this that is happening about Petrojam, where your friend, legal man, is saying that a matter was settled and it is now brought back as...
I don't know the details there, but what I do know is that I can take no pride in the fact that issue was how many years ago? Almost so long that we're forgetting the details, and they don't finish try yet. What justice is there, either to the persons who are charged or to the public interest? Believe me, we say that we're doing so well in the reform of justice, and I'm glad for the instances where that is so. But then I see the policeman who was accused of killing his girlfriend getting a trial. It's probably last year or the year before. Yes, and his trial date is being set, public knowledge, for April or May of 2026.
So what is that? Then he's to stay in prison for that time.
Well, I don't know if he's in prison, but the fact of the matter, fine. Well, if this is the situation, surely this is something we can do something about. We can do better. We don't have to embarrass ourselves.
No, but hold on, Ronnie. Don't take on all the weight on yourself, or on me, or on others like us.
Hello, sir. That is what you put. Is the government is them look the job, you know. The job never looked them.
Yeah, but how is
if you can't stand the pressure, come out to the kitchen.
How is the minister going to be responsible for a case put off till next year?
Go to the cabinet and say we need double the amount of judges. Please make the cut down on what you spend on the what other things. I could name some things.
No. Yes. I don't even.
I could. Right. And what we need is a dispatched administration of justice. Make sure that the courts are sitting. Enough courts are sitting so that kind of thing doesn't happen. Because justice delayed is justice denied.
Ronnie, let me tell you what you have just said. You said the same thing for schools.
Yes, sir.
Teachers.
Yes, sir.
And space.
Yes, sir.
You said the same thing for roads. Right?
Yeah.
Rural and urban.
Right.
You said the same thing for transport.
So stop wasting money and spend the money that you take away from us on making these changes.
So where the money going?
The money is going in good places in some cases, and it is going in some cases to places with utter waste. You know from your experience in the various ministries that it could be run much tighter, much more efficient. I have said openly, nobody has ever criticized me of it, that I found that in the Ministry of Education, probably 25% of the big money there could have been spent more efficiently.
That was, you know what you have not said? That the poor ministers,
Can't do it.
the poor ministers, who is getting all the blame,
Yes, sir.
who is part of the 90%.
Yeah,
that
but I can't. I'm not sorry for myself, and I'm not sorry for you or any of the others. If you get the work, you must do the work proper.
In
Or if
other
you
words,
can't do it,
if you can't do it,
come out. And you can do it, and we could do it better. Had I been able to count on the support of the opposition when I wanted to reform certain things, yes, and if I had sought their consent and been able to rely upon it, things could have happened. The same thing is true of Minister Williams in education right now, and the same thing was true when Minister Charles was the Minister of Education.
No.
What Minister of other portfolios?
Of Labour and Social
Security,
and
all kinds of things, works and everything.
May I just give my
Final word.
My final word to the new Minister of Labour and Social Security.
We're good.
I heard he had a proper presentation today.
Yes.
We wish him to come here next week.
Indeed. Next week we're hoping to get the Honourable Colonel Charles Jr. to come and tell us about the PATH program, Jamaica's major element of social security. So important in any society, all the more so in one such as ours. Thanks so much to the people on the bridge, to you, Jeff, and to all the others who make the public eye possible. Thanks to all of our listeners everywhere and anywhere who join us in celebrating this land, pointing out its deficiencies, and of course, its huge God-given opportunities. We'll be back next Wednesday, if life spare and the Lord tarries. See you then.